Hello, wake up New Zealand. Sakey speaking. Well, there's a lot of controversy around the word Indigenous, and there has been for quite some time. Even when in 2007, when the UNDRIP, the UN Declaration on Indigenous Rights for the people, was set up, established. Many countries had problems around that word Indigenous. And in fact, some would not even take it on board. So where does that word Indigenous come from? Well, it's derived from a Latin word, and that word comprises of a noun and a verb together. So the word in Latin is indigeno, that's I-N-D-I-G-E-N-O. And the word is broken, as I say, into a noun and verb. And it's indu, I-N-D-U, Latin, meaning into, inward, within, interior. Now, genera, that's G-I-G-N-E-R-E, is Latin, and it means in English beget, B-E-G-E-T. So beget means bringing a child into the world, reproduction, creation, spawn, bringing into existence by the process of reproduction, birth. To a mother, to a father, sire, engender, generate, bring into the being, procreate, breed, reproduce. So people. So let's get the whole word, Indigenous people, because this is what we're up against at the moment. So people, person, peoples are human beings, individual human being, human beings. So, Indigenous people. Therefore, a human being or human beings created, born within the interior of a country, brought into existence by way of reproduction, birth. So that's human beings that are born into a country. So that is the term that is derived from Latin, is now Indigenous people, that has been played around with to accommodate certain situations. And so all peoples of New Zealand migrated to our shores. It doesn't matter whether they came here first, last, whatever. All migrants who were born in New Zealand, by this account of the Latin word, is Indigenous. They're Indigenous people. So because they've reproduced children with no matter what culture, ethnic blood running through their veins. So if you say Maori population has approximately 1/16 Maori blood running through their veins, then they have, the females have reproduced with, say, males of a different European descent or whatever, or females have had babies by other people from other countries, ethnicities, cultures. So what are we saying? So if they've got 1/16 blood, Maori blood running through their veins, and the majority other is European, does that mean part of them is Indigenous and the other part isn't? No, that's stupid, because it means all of them is Indigenous. Everyone in New Zealand, no matter what culture, who migrated here, were born here, is Indigenous, not just Maori. So there you have it. And that's been derived from the original Latin word. So we're all human beings. Some of us born to this land and others not. Some of us migrated here, at some stage and others not. So the establishing of the UN Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. The term Indigenous people has been a real issue from the moment that declaration was established. The self-identification is the emphasis and has been proved very problematic. The term is very general, and some use the word native, which is also defined as belonging to one place where you're born. So the Declaration of Self-Determination allows bias to law, politics, economics, certain minority societal groups. Groups being favoured, rewarded more than others, being given more political power through Indigenous interests. Indigenous that's been termed as Maori. So, say for example, I was born in England. I've lived here for 60 plus years. I was born in England. So say I was Indigenous to England. That's the place I'm born. So if I go back there, can I have rights, more interests than any other person who lives there and who's been born there of a different culture, where I, as an English person, can go there and make a claim that these medieval villages, the castles, and the beautiful Lake District, university grounds, estates, etc., and English tourism. Is that my right to claim that for my own self-interest? So can you see where I'm coming from? It just does not make sense. So what I'm actually saying is that all peoples who are human beings, no matter what culture, who are born to a land, a certain land, a country, are Indigenous to that country. And you can be any culture. And you can come from the westernized world. So it's down to being born in a country. That's what the Latin word says. So an excerpt from Chotangapur Law Journal. That's a strange name. It's CHOTANGPUR. And it's called The Free Rider Problem. Unlimited rights to Indigenous self-determination has serious implications as to minority groups with more status and power over majority, where they have veto rights, one minority group's self-interest over the whole of others. So through the legality of the very term Indigenous people and self-determination, it means more favourable economic capital for the minority, domestic and globally. So that could be bigger trade deals, etc., because you are of a certain minority group. So Tumana Raranga was established to enable Indigenous sovereignty data to address Maori self-interest. The rights and control of Maori data, ensuring data is about Maori, it's safeguarded and protected by Maori. So it's established, created by Maori, protected, stored by Maori, and controlled by Maori. And they also have the right to say whether it's open data or closed data. And this is intermingled in the national official stats. So to ensure iwi benefit through social media, commercialization, business, domestic, overseas, etc., to benefit, reward a minority group over all others, which is separatist, iwi looking after iwi, Maori interests over all of others. Development of Maori data infrastructure to support self-determination and Maori sovereignty. Te Ao Māori News reports on the 20th of May this year, $1.1 billion for Maori in budget 2021. Maori Development Minister Willie Jackson says this funding enables a new way of working. The budget will also address cost pressures facing Wānanga with $32.3 million and also Maori data sovereignty equaling $14.1 million of taxpayers' money. Then the Green Party's manifesto, taxpayer briefing, and this was on the 4th of August last year, and they say, think ahead, create a fairer system for water allocation by introducing fees for commercial businesses. And this was made as a second reference to Maori data sovereignty in the document by the Green Party Manifesto. So they mentioned this Maori data sovereignty when talking about water and commercial business. So scientific collections and databases review, that's the government, MBIE, Maori data sovereignty perspectives are adequately addressed through forecasting, funding, operational costs, stating, this is what the government say, this is important for ensuring support for excellent science and provide taxpayer value for money. So they're saying that this Maori sovereignty data is providing you good value for your taxpayer dollars. So Indigenous Data Sovereignty Charter was established by Timana Rauranga. It's a living, this is what they document. They say it's a living treasure of strategic value to Maori, stating you can formally adopt the Charter and a Maori Data Sovereignty Organisation. And that's what they are, a Maori Data Sovereignty Organisation. I believe they're charitable status. The Charter is a living document, that's what they say, and it relates and refers to the Treaty of Waitangi. And they didn't have digital inclusion or data research in 1840. So what are they on about? So this was established in a workshop in Canberra, this living document, this charter they referred to, in July 2015, the time that the UN Agenda 2030 was established, and I believe this even refers to UN Agenda 2030. So they say our data, our sovereignty, our future, this vision drove the establishment of Timana Rauranga as the Maori Data Sovereignty Network. Research data equals policies that govern all New Zealanders. We are living in an extremely powerful world of digitisation that controls every part of our lives. And now I see over the last 5.5 years, we have Maori data sovereignty. Data, opportunities, power structures, laws, economics, health, infrastructure, every part of our lives are covered by this data digital inclusion. And most people on the street wouldn't even know how they do their research. It makes it so complicated and so complex. So we don't even understand how the figures that come out, the data, the stats that come out, that are intermingled with this research, with biases, etc., influences, to actually gain control over people's lives. And these researchers that have contracts with government, academia, are asked to set out certain data so that they can, the government can actually dish out their enforce their laws and policies. So under Maori data sovereignty, the same applies. They have control of it all, and it's all for Maori rewards. So, you know, they have complete control. It's intermingled with other stats, official stats, national stats. Therefore, that also controls our lives. It's just self-determined, Maori self-determined, Indigenous self-determined, and they're not Indigenous. So that's a term being used because it sounds very legal. So New Zealand Indigenous data sovereignty, we're talking about self-determination, co-governance, separatism and division, data of power and opportunity, co-governance. Timana Rauranga released a statement on the Department of Internal Affairs, the police facial recognition system. They're not happy about that. They say that this will have significant risks to Maori data sovereignty because Maori youth had images taken of them and stored on the National Official Information Site. So they've asked Maori data sovereignty, Timana Rauranga, have called on the police to open its black box on facial recognition as to their concerns as to Maori youth images being stored in the national database. So police are now being blamed for racialised surveillance of Maori racism in the criminal justice system. But wait a minute. Can we call political discrimination? Because all the rallies I've been to, and peaceful rallies opposing this government, we have had increased CCTV cameras, and these are law-abiding citizens. It's hitting every New Zealander who stands and speaks out or joins a rally. And that is every culture. So we're all being stalked by police CCTV cameras, and they have increased heaps as they've brought in new systems, an American system. So that's what we've got. We've got political discrimination right across the board. And this is what this is all about. And we have no control of it. But Maori sovereignty data, Timana Rauranga, obviously does, because they're able to call the police out on this facial recognition. So thank you people for listening to this and watching this video. Please share and subscribe. Just bringing more information to you about Indigenous peoples and what's going on in New Zealand today and the meaning around Indigenous originating from a Latin word. Thank you very much. Have a good day.